Hey guys and girls, Poketin King here. Welcome back to Friday Night TCG Talk. I am joined by Poker Mike. How have you been? Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. For anyone who remembers, we did used to do a podcast and have nearly weekly episodes of us two chatting about TCGs. So yeah, it's obviously this isn't a regular thing, but yeah, be fun to have a chat again.
Yeah, it's been a while. We've so much has happened in both of our personal lives as well as card games since then.
Yeah,
So we'll start off with, I guess, what have you been up to recently? How's things been for you?
yeah. I mean, it's it's been busy. Like I haven't really been collecting much, if I'm honest. Like I'm still in card games, but I haven't really been collecting them, and that was mainly because I was running an online store, and as you know, like that, you end up just it takes priority, right?
Yeah,
And spare money, you're like, oh, I could buy something for the collection, or I could invest it into this sealed product to sell. It's a lot easier to put it into the business and try and grow things. And that's what happened. So I haven't trying to think like it's got to be at least 6 months since I
yeah,
like bought something for personal collection. But I've still been having fun though, like for videos and on my channel, I've been opening up lots of products and lots of sets, and I've been having a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, still been enjoying it, just in a different way, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. I think it definitely shifts your perspective when you're kind of looking at things. I really mostly just trade for stuff for my personal collection. But even then, like, there's I haven't really added too much
Yeah,
to it, honestly, because it's just like the money can go into the business, it can go into getting stock, or it can buy collections and stuff, and so it becomes
it's
less
a
about like what I want to get for me and just what I need to get, sort of thing.
yeah, it's really hard to balance. Like just trying to
Yeah.
find that balance. I couldn't find it, so yeah,
Yeah, it's hard. So for those that don't know, obviously you ran Card Cami. You I remember vendoring with you at London Card Show. You had the first time I ever saw Union Arena in person. Obviously, you had Weiss as well,
yeah.
and you recently made a video where you announced that you were closing Card Cami. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I guess for anyone who doesn't know my channel or me whatsoever, so I started an online store called Card Cami, and it was mainly for anime TCGs. So that's what my YouTube channel is about, really. It did start off as Y Schwarz in particular, but I go into Union Arena, a bit One Piece now, and that's the sole focus. But yeah, I started an online store, Card Cami, about a year and 3 months ago. I feel like it was last May when that first started. But the reason I started it wasn't that I ever wanted an online store, which is normally the case if you start one right. It's because you want to build that up. But for me personally, the actual reason I started it was because one of the go-to stores in the UK for White Shores was closing down. So that was Top Deck In. There were other sites, some of the big sites that stocked it, but they never seemed to deliver. It just you would order it and release day would come. You wouldn't hear anything. A
Yeah,
week would pass, nothing. 2 weeks, you'd have to chase them. They'd say, "Yeah, we're trying to source it. We're sorry," and that would just happen often. But Top Deck In was the only one that actually got product to you for release day consistently. So when they went, I was like, "Oh, you know, how am I going to get a product to open on release day or at all?" Because sometimes I'd have to cancel orders and just never even get it because they never got the product from some of those other stores. So
yeah,
yeah, I thought about it for some time, and I just thought, you know what? Let's try and keep this going in the UK. Let's try and keep this Weiss Schwarz collecting and growing and just keep it going in the UK. And I can do that by trying to run an online store that specifically stocks Weiss. And yeah, I mean, I did it for over a year. I mean, it is still there. Like the store is still there. I'm just not getting new pre-orders come in and things like that. So it's going to be phased out slowly, but I've still got pre-orders that I'm fulfilling for people that will be the end of this month until the set is out. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's still going to be there for another month or so. But yeah, it took up a lot of time, and I just think that original need for being able to get Weiss to people in the UK is kind of gone. There's a few other stores, online stores, that successfully stock it now, and also at good prices as well. So it's quite easy for me to step back and be like, do you know what, like that need isn't there anymore. It'd be different if it was making you loads of money and you wanted to do it as a full-time job. Then obviously I'm not gonna just pack up and leave because it wouldn't make sense. But I was just spending a lot of time on it, and considering I don't really pay myself from it, any profits reinvested into more stock. It just wasn't something I wanted to continue doing, to be honest. There was a lot of accounting and admin that started to pile up, and I was just like, I can't. I can't jump on this, and I can't get these answers and check these things that I've already sent over. So yeah, that was the decision.
Yeah, I think ultimately that is, for anybody watching that is considering, or might be on the similar journey, it is a lot of work, and it does change things a lot when it comes from a hobby. You always hear people saying it, but until you do it, you won't know. So it's kind of like, you might be listening to this right now and go, yeah, but I enjoy it. And we both enjoyed it for a long time, and I'm not saying there weren't times where we did enjoy it all the time, but it's definitely changes things. And when you've got to you got to do your accounts all the time, you're sending back and forth receipts, and they're saying they're not getting them, and distro as well ultimately is such a huge issue. Asmodee are so bad. They really are bad with fulfilling products in the time frame. So obviously, somebody orders from you, and the release date is X, but you don't want to let customers down. Go, by the way, it hasn't come. They don't know when they're going to get it, because then customers are like, well, what can you tell me? And it's like, I can't tell you anything else other than they did a warehouse move and they're delayed, and they've been delayed for months now, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. They prioritize things like Pokemon releases and Magic releases, but bar that, everything else is kind of just, up in the air. And the sheer amount of stores that I speak to, it's the same issue every single time. It's always
definitely. It wasn't a good timing thing for me, to be honest, because when I decided to go limited to get access to UK distro, I had to go limited and VAT registered, which added to that accounting, added to that admin. But not only that, it was just a bad time because, as you said, they moved warehouse, right? So there was then this closure that was supposed to be a few weeks that ended up being months. Issues with loads of different things. But yeah, not only that, it's just, I think, just as you said, like when there's issues and delays and things like that, you then have to spend time emailing all your customers. They will reply. They might want a refund. And that's just more time. I know it's kind of obvious that you're going to have to do things like that, but when it's not your fault and it's like, distro have messed up again, and it's just like, I don't have the time for this. Like, to be honest, it was a weird one, because I actually thought the thing that I would be annoyed and not enjoy the most was packaging, and actually it's the easiest part of it. And I actually don't mind doing it, but beforehand I was like, can I really be bothered to like run it and package orders? It's actually the best part. I can't lie.
Yeah, the packaging it is the best.
But yeah, there's just so much.
Easiest part of it.
Yeah, it's just like switch your brain off and get it done. It's really simple. Whereas when you're having to like chase distro, try and get answers out of them, I just had an order turn up and one box is missing, so I now have to wait 8 to 10 days for them to investigate why one product was put in and not two for a certain set. And it's just like, I've just refunded the customer, because I'm like, I can't just say, yeah, can you wait like 2 weeks? You know, by that point they might actually sell out of it. So it's
They might not
like,
even be able to give you it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then it's just
And
like
then the
you could have
customer's going to
bought
be
it
more
somewhere else.
angry and
Yeah, it's all that kind of stuff. It's like it's
yeah.
way too much for what it's worth. Like I'm not doing it to make money. I was just trying to
Yeah.
carry that torch for Weiss, and there's other stores that do it. So
Yeah, I
it's
think the landscape's changed obviously.
yeah,
What you did fulfilled a need at the time.
yes,
Things have changed.
yeah,
But yeah, it ultimately has happened, and I think, you know, you might start to get back into like collecting personally again
yeah.
if you're not having to, if that's not your focus.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that now, obviously, it's still ongoing, and it's not like, you know, it's not like I've run out of money and it's going into liquidation in a day. It's going to be a slow closure, which means I still have to do orders and run the site and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once it's finally done, you know, in a couple of months' time, and it's officially done, it would be like, okay, like, is there some stuff I can open? Is there some cards I
Yeah.
want to collect? And I'll finally get back to that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be good. So I guess we'll cover it from that, and I want to talk about the CT scanning and stuff that everybody is talking about, because we've had brief conversations, I think, about it, but
Yeah.
it's not something that I've actually addressed on the channel yet. I did film a video, and then I decided not to put it up because I was like, if this blows over, do I want to kind of stoke the flame? But it seems to be something that is just getting increasingly bigger. So for starters, I'll ask what your thoughts on the whole situation.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, I haven't thought about it too much, to be honest. And I think that's because I don't own any WotC boxes anymore. It
Yeah,
would be different if I still did, but I don't have any of them. I've got Sealed Modern, but it doesn't worry me for that because the value, it's just not there, is it? Like it
yeah,
wouldn't make sense to send that off and scan it at the price that it's worth at the moment and things like that. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it adds it definitely adds like a new dynamic, right? Because let's say
yeah,
you scan a box, let's just say it's like base set, right? You scan a box, there's a Charizard in it. That's obviously going to sell. That box has got to be sold at a premium because it's like
yeah.
the experience and the guaranteed
Of
pull
getting
of
a
a
Charizard.
Charizard.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like it can add maybe prices going up if you're lucky to have those boxes, and prices to go down for boxes that wouldn't have it. But I'd imagine that would kind of just even out to what the average is now anyway, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
like some would be more, some would be less, and it's still the same. I guess one thing, you know, maybe people don't consider is it actually prevents people getting scammed, like buying boxes that are repackaged
fake
and
boxes. Yeah,
resold. Yeah. So there is, I guess, a positive there from that side of things. But personally, I don't really like it. I've collected sealed. I've collected WotC sealed. The fun of it is just not the unknown, right? The fun of it is just
yeah,
like anything could be in here, and you just don't know. And yeah, I guess a lot of the enjoyment though does come from the fact that you know it's been sealed for like 20 years. So I mean, it doesn't change that. It just changes the fact that you know what's
yeah.
inside. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting thing to happen situation, and the reason why I asked is because I had, and he's probably going to be watching this video when this comes up, but I had a video call with a collector and a friend yesterday, and he was quite worried about things changing, things moving. He's actually sold his first edition WotC packs now. So he had like base, I think, jungle and fossil.
Yeah.
He's sold those. And what he was worried about was moving forward with the scanning in terms of like, he doesn't want to be left behind trying to sell in a market that could potentially be crashing because everybody's panicking.
Yeah.
And obviously,
Yeah.
what I was trying to explain to him was the thoughts that you're having right now. You are, the reason why you had the call was because he was panicking, and you know, thinking that obviously there's so much to it, because
Yeah.
I personally don't think it's going to change modern. I think whatever the price is to scan a booster box, it's not going to be worth it to scan the whole booster box. And if it is worth scanning that box, or it gets to that point, then you're probably going to sell it anyway. So, you know, the only one that I could think of that could be worth it is Evolving Skies. But even then, if you're paying, say, $150 to get a box of Evolving Skies, we know from the sheer amount of openings and whatever, and the whole situation that happened was most Evolving Skies boxes are dud. Like, you can open a whole box and you're going to get absolutely shafted. There's a chance of getting that Moonbreon, or the chances of getting an alt art are slim. And often not a lot of the people getting the alt arts just from loose packs, from, you know, a blister or ETB or whatever. But from a booster box, the pull rates are really bad. And I don't think it would be worth scanning a box like that. So then you've got to go, right, well, as you talked about with WotC boxes, but then if you didn't have a box with, you know, a Charizard in it, that can still be sold anyway. I mean, it's going to move more into reputable sellers. And the people that are selling unweighed packs now, people that are selling booster boxes now, that, you know, are they legit or not? You're going to be buying from these reputable sellers that are well known, that have a good, you know, reputation and have sold products like this prior. They're the ones that are most likely going to have these products. And it'll be a case of when you used to buy light and heavy packs, it'll just be, you know, can you trust them to say they're not scanned? Well, you can buy packs from stores and they're unweighed, and they truly are unweighed. But for some people, they go, well, why would they sell unweighed packs when they can just sell them for heavy or light? But if a heavy is 700, a light is 300, and an unweighed is 500, the chances are, you know, they might not want to weigh them all because they might find out they're all light, and then they've lost money. So sometimes it's just easier to not know. And the advantage is for stores like this is that they're known for selling like unweighed or unscanned boxes, which in itself is a reputation. And that's an allure itself, to be able to say, right, we're a store that we don't sell scanned boxes or packs. But I think people... Gotta carry on.
No, go for it.
I think people, whenever news like this comes out, I think people always go to the worst case scenario and blow it out of proportion in their own mind.
Yeah, it's that kind of emotional reaction, isn't it, to like
Yeah.
worry or fear, which is natural. But yeah, I guess it's just like as you said, it's like weighing packs. It's just the next level up, right? It's kind of the same concept. But I guess another thing you need to think of, obviously UK market, like you're not sending your box to the US to get scanned realistically. You know, obviously in the US completely different, like you can do it there, but you know, you're not going to ship an extremely expensive box. I don't think you, I don't know. I personally wouldn't bother. There's risk of like that getting lost, stolen, whatever. Not up for that. So I wouldn't do it from the UK. And I guess another thing to think about is the companies doing the scanning. There's also a potential for them to exploit this. They could receive your base set box. Oh, it's got a Charizard in it. Oh, this one doesn't. And just send you the one that doesn't. You know, there's... They could exploit that if they wanted to. Now, you'd never be able to prove that unless you keep sending, you know, scan one and they confirmed a Charizard and you sent it again and they said that it didn't have one or something like that. But like, no one's really going to do that. And yeah, I just think, it's just another level of like weighing packs, but it's just way less accessible because you have to pay someone to do it. You can't just buy like a £10 scale from Amazon and do it yourself. So I think people potentially blown out of proportion because it's just I can see why it is an issue, but it's not like everyone can just do it themselves. That would be be extremely different. But again, I think things average out. If you don't have, you know, a box with a card in, and you do have, it's all just going to average out. people do collect sealed not to open anyway. So like,
Yeah.
regardless of what's inside, that's not what they've bought it because it's sealed and they want to keep it
Yeah,
sealed. And
somebody
that's how
would
they
buy
want
it
to.
anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
If they
That's
want
how
it
they want
sealed,
to
the same
display
reason
their
why
collection.
people collect. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I said I've got no boxes. I do have. I've got base set packs that are all heavy.
yeah,
I think I've just got one of each arts. Yeah, just 3 heavy packs from base set.
yeah,
Just in a display, like but it doesn't bother me at all. Like I don't, it doesn't change how I think about those packs.
yeah.
Like whatsoever. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
think-
time will tell, but yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just another thing that's happened. Obviously, entered the hobby. I would be cautious about those that are selling a scaremongering, even because I have seen certain individuals doing it already, and you have to wonder what their motive is, what their angle is, because often not the people that are, you know, that have these voices that sort of get out there are obviously well known. They're members of the community. There might be big content creators or businesses and stuff, and you know what have they got to gain from scaring people or panic people? And you know, if they're going, oh, you know, this could be, you know, this really could crash Pokemon stuff, and then they're like, oh, you know, we'll pay 60% if you want to take in your sealed. But and it's like, it does make me question. I think it doesn't change anything for me. I don't. The way I navigate trading cards doesn't change anything for me, and my whole life is trading cards. It doesn't worry me because I know that, as you said, the accessibility of that, and also who are these companies that are doing it so far? Where they come from? Are people going to trust sending stuff to them? As you just said, they could switch out stuff. So, you know, this feels like another situation where someone like Logan Paul is going to say, oh, I'm going to work with like Collector's Cash or something in America, or Frankensons, and we're going to do, you know, CT scanning on site, and they'll do a video where they're scanning stuff and they'll find a Charizard in a box that whatever, and then, you know what I mean? It feels another one of those like that, to be honest. I think it's, as I said, with everything, situations like this occur and people panic, and emotional reactions is huge with these things.
Yeah. I think the only thing that does concern me is I keep hearing a lot of things about scanning in Japan or something, and it's
yeah, I saw Singapore, Malaysia, but that, so I read into that a little bit. So in Asia, for the cases of One Piece, they have different tape around them. They have different colored tape depending on where they're coming from, whether it's like Singapore, Malaysia, like Hong Kong, Japan. And people have found a way, not scanning, but mapping. And they found where the manga is in each case.
okay.
So they've done that. I think a store opened up 20 cases and got, they had 20 cases. They bought 20 manga rares because they knew that where the manga was going to be. But then the worry is they're selling boxes that don't have manga. And I mean,
yeah,
I understand that. I think if they came out and said, look, this box doesn't have a chance of getting a manga rare in, there's still enough in that for people to want to open anyway.
Yeah.
But I know this was a huge thing that someone mentioned in one of the Discords, and that like a TikToker found out and was like exposing it, you know, online and stuff. So I think also another thing is some of the bits that I looked into, I found posts on forums from 2008 of people saying that they've witnessed a store putting through boxes through like an X-ray machine. So this talk has been for years. I suspect this has been happening for about 20 years. It's just, it hasn't been exposed, or, you know, it's always a conspiracy until it isn't, right? And if you said all the years going by, if you went, oh, you know, there's stores here, well, some of it is actually distribution level, which unfortunately we as consumers can't do anything about it, because we know distribution pretty much from the most part around the world are scummy. But if they, and we know that distros open cases, I've seen it myself with, you know, I had a case of Flesh and Blood that had a Christmas card in from Magic the Gathering, and it's like, how does a product from LSS that comes, have something that's from Wizard of the Coast? Like, that's their competitor. And we've all seen some strange things happen over the years, but yeah, it's definitely just gonna highlight, and I think it will be a point where, in this day and age, being a respectable and trusted seller,
that's what it comes down to.
Heightens the need for that. People that you can trust. I know that if I go into a store like Collector's Card House and they say, right, I've got unweighed packs here, I know that they're, or to the best of their knowledge, or they've opened a box, for instance, because I know they crack boxes and they say these are unweighed. I know from the fact that I've witnessed countless people open packs, gone in the store and open packs and pulled an EX or a Gold Star or a Level X and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Like, this actually reminds me of when I bought my WotC boxes, and this is back in 2019, before the boom, and when they were like cheap. Well, I say cheap,
They were
$1,000.
cheap compared to now.
They were cheap, right? But it was market price, so it didn't feel cheap. Like, it's that. That's what everyone's like. Oh my god, like £3,000 for a base set box. It's like, yeah, but that was the going rate, so
back then,
it didn't feel but like when I bought them, I specifically decided like to buy them from, so you probably remember accounts that used to have like raffle accounts on Instagram, right? And there was a few in the US that would raffle like base set packs or WotC packs and boxes. So I specifically bought from the raffle accounts that would raffle base set packs and open them, because I knew that their boxes are legit because they open their boxes, right? So whoever they're buying from is legit.
It's a legit source.
If they get something that is resealed, they're not going to be able to do anything with it because they open every one they get. So that's why I decided to buy from them and not a random account on eBay. That you've got no idea, because they've got a reputation. They're trying to run this side hustle business, and if that happens, it's on them, right? So
exactly.
It's the same thing. Like, it's just gonna push people towards names, like reputable stores, reputable names that people have opened and got product from before, and they know it's not scanned, and they've hit something, they've seen others hit stuff. Like, that's what it comes down to. And I think just worrying about this is just, I feel like this is going to be 1% of the product out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not everything that's not going straight through a scanner, because no one would be pulling anything and everyone's going to be like, what? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not how it's going to work.
With a lot of it as well, especially Pokemon, there's not enough in most sets for it to warrant doing that. Like, there's so many sets out there where there's not anything really worth doing that in. And, this was a conversation I had with people in Fab, but people were talking about, possibly people doing it with the first 3 sets, and it's like, well, you're not guaranteed a cold for everyone. So, they might go through and go, right, I'm going to get this one because it's got a cold for legendary stuff. But as you said, like, I don't think it might become more accessible, but at the same time, I don't think people are going to go through all of the hassle of that.
I think maybe like 20 years down the line, we probably would have to have a completely different conversation when technology and everything improves and cost of machines like that, like,
well, when you'll be able to just get, like they have at the airports that they scan people for metal. They'll just go that over and it'll tell you, it'll come up on your phone and it'll tell you.
Someone will probably build an app that will like use AI to analyze the scanned images and be like, you've got a Charizard, like 90%
by
accuracy
that point,
or whatever.
There'll be companies building things to avoid that, like Pokemon
exactly.
The code
like,
cards in.
Like, definitely. So I think, as you said, it's a lot of like emotional reaction, which rightly so, because it is kind of big. But I think the next 5 years, you really don't need to worry about it.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to card shows. Obviously, you've not been to one for a little while.
No.
It's when was the last card show you went to?
You weren't there actually, so
Yeah,
it was not I think not the last one, the one before, I want to
February
say.
was it?
Yeah,
It might have been the
must have been.
February. Yeah, it might have been the February one. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think so. Obviously, London Card Show. They've announced that they're going to open up on a second floor now. So they're going to have 2 floors. They're going to have like 80 more tables, which is probably really good, to be honest. I think it definitely needs to expand. I know it has expanded a bit since the first few times that we went to, and they've opened it up a lot more. I know certainly the last time, the one that's just gone in August, it felt more open. It didn't feel cramped. Like there wasn't so many having to like push past people, because
Yeah.
it did feel a lot more open, which was good. Obviously, people are still asking, is it going to come to the XL? When's it actually going to be in London? And we've had loads of card shows now cancelling shows because they're just not selling. Do you think that because we had this conversation, I think about a year ago, where we felt that we could be getting to a point where it was saturated? Do we think we're now in the middle of a saturation of card shows?
Oh, 100%. If people are cancelling shows, 100%, we finally hit that point where people are realizing it's not even viable to run it. Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think also this kind of comes down to like running a online card store as well. I think people always think things are easier to do than they are. So like typically the average person will underestimate the work involved in doing something. Like you might think, run an online store, okay, I've just got to make a website and then put the product on there, and then orders come in and orders go out, and there'll be the odd issue, a rare occurrence, which is just not the case. Like it's not the case at all. There's so much to do. And that's an online one, not even a real one. So I think the same thing probably happens with card shows, right? People saw that there was a demand for it, and all these card shows started popping up. They're like, I can do that. I can do that in my city, in my town. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure some of them probably have experience in something similar, and that's potentially why they then do it, because you're like, oh, I kind of know how to do this already. So for them, it makes sense. But I'm sure there's others that just think that'd be fun to do, and I'll make some money, and there's a demand for it, and then everyone does the same thing, and then there's a saturation of card shows. So yeah, it's definitely at that point if people are cancelling their shows. I mean, London Card Show's 4 times a year, isn't it? And I'm surprised it's still, if I'm honest, I'm surprised. Yeah, like you said, we probably spoke about this about a year ago. I'm surprised they're still doing 4 a year, but yeah,
4 a year seems like a lot. I think people now pick and choose. Like maybe before they were going to each show, and I know certainly I think I do maybe 2 a year, if that, for London Card Show. Just because it's a lot of if you go like 2 a year, you can see the difference between the shows. It's definitely, you're seeing a lot of raw Pokemon now rather than graded so much. Like you still see graded, but the raw sections are, this was something I was talking to Sam Chibi Collectibles about, and he was saying the section of raw that he has now versus like graded stuff is very different. And people go through phases. People want Japanese, now they want English, they want graded, they want raw, and now sealed sealed is like getting back into trending again, and people want more sealed. And I think it's interesting to see vendors adapt from each show what they're going to bring, because obviously you're going to bring stuff to a show and you're going to have to learn at the show what is and what isn't selling. But when you come back to the next show, it might have changed by then. So what you might be bringing next show, because you learned from the last show, it's already changed. So there's a lot to think about in just, I think, vending in the shows, because it's, and I see predominantly Pokemon now. Obviously, they've got a Yu-Gi-Oh section now, which they've never had before. They've got like a Yu-Gi-Oh square. They call it the Yu-Gi-Oh zone or something, which was quite cool. And there was just all of them in a square, and they seem to be doing really well. but I wonder if that will happen with other card games. Like they'll have Pokemon in this section, Yu-Gi-Oh here. Like obviously, there's most of them sell more than one card game, but if you're predominantly Yu-Gi-Oh, you're here. Predominantly Pokemon here. You know, maybe
I guess it makes sense.
Anime TCGs in this area.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it makes sense. Like, as someone attending the event, right? You don't have to like go around the whole thing like trying to spot things. It's like, oh, I'm after some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Just go straight there.
Just go,
And you can like look at all of them and decide what one you want to buy, rather than maybe just makes it easier for someone attending, I suppose. But then from a vending perspective, you're like all your competitions right next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are going to walk around less. So
Yeah.
if you're doing, I don't know, say you do Yu-Gi-Oh, but you also do Pokemon, and people would usually come up and go, "Oh, you got Pokemon," but maybe they don't now because they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna."
Yeah.
So
miss that section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. I think with card shows, I know obviously, you know, TCG Expo happened last year. Was it? It was last year, wasn't it? The one that had
One
the
Piece
so
one.
that's not happening again.
All right.
I don't think they've like. Well, I'm sorry if I've ruined that, but I don't think they've like formally come out and said it's not happening again. But I think because it was mostly player based, the vendors didn't do very well. And it
they
didn't
sold
as a
raw
whole.
cards, but for playing only. Like,
But I think overall it just didn't do that great. Like it wasn't, from the organizer's point of view, it didn't generate enough for it to warrant doing more. So I think they might bring it back, but I think that proves that having a show that does have predominantly tournaments and stuff, if it's not sponsored by the company that's like doing the card games themselves, then it's quite difficult. So yeah, it's I think it's going to change over the next few years. I'd like to see, as we've said for ages, something at the XL.
Yeah, I think we might see more drop off, and then hopefully see the quality of the ones that stay improve. That's what I'd want to see. Like,
yeah, I would like to see quality up, because I have no incentive to go to any of these other shows. Like I am probably going to do Scotland Card Show next year in June, because that actually now is the biggest card show.
Yeah,
I think they've. I can't. It's either 6,000, 7,000, or 8,000 people went to last one.
That says something though, doesn't it? Right, that shows that people, you're gonna get, like, the reason that done well. I mean, I'm purely speculating here. I assume is the fact that it's the other side of the UK, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously it had to run well and everything. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that was an easy thing to organize and set up, but like, the main reason it was so huge is because those people probably wouldn't want to travel down to the London Card Show, because it'd be like a 8-hour drive. Like, so that shows that location is important, I suppose, right? And so there's still kind of that market for card shows if you're in a location that doesn't really have any big shows or anything like that.
No, because they probably don't have really any competition. Like, I mean, London Card Show's not in London, so it's a bit. And I know the last London Card Show, a load of the American vendors came over. They didn't come back.
Yeah.
So, you know, they didn't come back. I mean, I spent 50 quid. That was all I bought. I bought one Topps like show exclusive box, which is like football cards.
I think
that was it.
That's the thing. Like, when I go as well, I don't go to buy anything.
No.
I do buy stuff, but it's mainly just sealed to open while I'm there for a bit of fun. But I never go and I'm like, oh, I got £400, so let's just like see what I can get, or like I'm looking for this particular card.
Yeah.
Usually if I'm looking for a card, it's not there. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, personally, I just normally go to catch up and see people that I know online, and like that's literally why I go, which is kind of, it's obviously not necessarily the right reason to be at a card show, but like I think you can't disregard it. I think there are a lot of people that go with that same intention, like to meet up with people that they know online, or meet some of them for the first time, or I think there's probably lots of groups out there that go as a community thing. Yeah, obviously you're getting hundreds of people come through the door looking for cards though, and specifically looking to buy things. It's interesting because you know that you can just go on eBay and get that card sometimes cheaper.
Yeah, probably cheaper. I think, yeah, my approach now to every card show is going to be, because what I did at this one was I took a whole stack of stuff and I just went to Card Galaxy and I was like, pick what you want. I'll come back in half an hour, tell me how much store credit it is, and then I'll pick some bits that I want. And that's what I'm going to do now, because I've just got, obviously over the years, I've just accumulated so much stuff. And I wish there was more that took like all card games. I mean, I did see one booster box of Flesh and Blood. It wasn't a good one, but I did see it there. But that was the only Flesh and Blood, and yeah, it still upsets me that, you know, it's not, doesn't have big enough, because pretty much every other card game is represented there. Like if you're there going as a Weiss collector or Union Arena collector or One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic, obviously, but you know, you're seeing even other card games that are like really niche, like even games that are dead, you see more of. Like you still see MetaZoo there, and every time I'm at a place, someone picks it out.
I feel like it's because the card shows are mainly focused around collecting only.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
That's it. So like, yeah, I don't know. I guess people do collect Flesh and Blood, but obviously it's the UK, isn't it? So it's just completely different.
Yeah, like in US, you get it at card shows. And people are, but the UK, like whenever I say, oh, I go to card shows and there's none in the UK, they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, there isn't. They're just, and obviously I tried it, and
I mean, it wasn't, same with it didn't, when I tried Weiss Schwarz, like we just, it's not the same. It's not the US. Like it's just, it's different. We're a tiny little island.
Yeah, the market's small here, and you know, there's a reason why things are so different. Obviously, you know, so we'll talk about the market, because I kind of want to go into this a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously, Ace Grading, and the most recent posts that they had, obviously, of a Rayquaza alt art, and it sold for more than a couple of the last like US listings. Now, obviously, you know, there was a lot of debate. You saw the comments. You commented yourself.
Yeah, I think my comment got hidden straight away, though.
Yeah.
It wasn't even bad. Like, I didn't...
you went in and just said, look, I think this is overblown. Like, you know, yours was like, you weren't disputing or arguing anything. Yeah. Now, we've talked about this, obviously. And I think the dangers of... Well, who hasn't? Yeah, the whole UK community knows about this now. I think this is...
Whether they commented or not.
Yeah, this is... Well, that's the thing. I think this is bad press on Ace Grading. The responses that Ace and Randy made, which I just think was a bit very unprofessional of a business. You know, I saw comments of people saying, I've supported Ace since COVID, you know, most of my collection is Ace Grubs. And he's still arguing with them.
Yeah, no,
and
I'm thinking,
like, that's I
that's
get
your customer. Like, that's a loyal customer.
I get that, you know, you're gonna get defensive if you see someone insult.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily insult your product, but more so the integrity of what. What was sort of talked about. And honestly, from my point of view, I don't think it matters. Like, I think that's awesome that, you know, a Rayquaza sold more than a PSA. Obviously, straight after, there was another PSA sold that was more than that. And obviously, the supply in the UK is low compared to the US. So any listing that comes up is going to sell for, you know, a premium over the US market, just because supply is low. So it's like, you know, then the average buyer doesn't want to have to buy from the US, worry about import costs and shipping, and does it get lost, and all those, you know, things that come involved with buying internationally.
Well, if it was cheaper here, people from the US would buy it from here and import it over. And that does happen sometimes when there's some like arbitrage between prices for, I know it's happened with like One Piece and some other TCGs. Like I actually had someone DM me like, can you buy me it was a Manga Rare, because he was like, it's like 75% the price that it is in the US in Europe at the moment. But I couldn't do it because it was European, right? So if I bought it from them in the UK, then sent it to the US, I'd get the imports. So like I couldn't do it anyway. But yeah, that's literally why it's generally more expensive for us anyway. Like it kind of always has been. Like it's always had that 20% extra, because if you bought it from the US, you'd be paying that and waiting longer anyway.
Yeah, exactly. There's a reason why there's markets, because every market has its own nuances.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're all the same, and I don't think you can, you know, if I'm selling cards on Card Market, I'm looking at what the Card Market low is. I'm not looking at what TCG Player low is, because that doesn't matter, because I'm selling it in that market. And obviously, you know, to some that you know, are going back and forth to the US, for them it might work being one global market and being like, right, this is cheap in the US, so, you know, I'm going to value it on that. And that it obviously works for some, but I still think that's not the right way to do it.
Yeah, I feel like even for years it's been like, everyone knows that Pokemon UK market is generally more expensive than US, and you look at UK solds when you're pricing things, and there's other TCGs where you don't, like Wise Shores. You don't look at UK prices because there isn't UK prices. There's just, because that's how small it is. That's how niche it is.
Yeah.
So for like those other TCGs like Wise, it's like you go off market like what the American price is. And if the currency's like, I've had this before, like obviously if the currency goes the opposite way and you've lost money, like the card hasn't changed in price, but that's $1,000 price card, and that's what the community value it at, then it sticks. But with Pokemon, it's not. That's not how. No one's ever priced Pokemon that way. But that was the bit of data they wanted to use. I think the worst part of it was the reactions. Like, that doing that on its own is fine. Like, and people would have had those opinions of like, oh.
Regardless.
The data doesn't seem right. You're comparing US to UK. Cool, whatever. I think it's then like doubling down, and not even doubling down in a respectable way. It's doubling down, deleting comments. As you said, like it was just really unprofessional. And I think that comes from, I don't know, maybe it comes from like, you're used to having a YouTube brand and not a company brand. And I feel like what you can do on YouTube is different. Like, it's personal. Like, it's like, whatever. I said something, cool, whatever. If I was wrong, I was wrong. Hold my hands up, say sorry. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's just different compared to like when you're representing a brand. Or a company or a business, like it's.
Do you think that because Randy was doing it on his account, not Ace's account, do you think that in his mind that was then separated, and he was like, "Well, I'm saying this is Randy, but I think it's still your business."
Yeah, I think it would have looked worse had it been the Ace account for sure.
Ace,
But you still know he owns it, so like it doesn't.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that, so like it doesn't matter. But yeah, for me, like my comment was something along the lines of like, regardless of what's happened here, like deleting comments wasn't the way to go, because there were. I get it. Like some comments were pure, just like hating on it, and that's fine. Like, but there were comments that just brought up some really good points.
Yeah.
And then they got. I mean, even my comment of saying that was like hidden, I think. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
I haven't
think
even, I'm just saying like this, I don't know. It was one thing after another. Like, I get it. Like, people didn't like initially using the market comparison, right? So there was that issue of like, why
yeah,
are they comparing prices? Like, that's never what it's been about. Fair enough. Then when the data has been compared from UK and US, that's then like another layer of like, what's going on? Like, it seems like an agenda because,
yeah,
you know,
cherry picking data.
yeah, exactly. Then there's the third layer of, okay, now you're like coming at people in comments that are loyal and saying like, "Oh, I love your brand." It just doesn't like they got comments that were just like constructive criticism.
Yeah,
And actually some of those comments were like really nice. And like you said, like some of his replies to those comments were like still really argumentative and it's like can't like chill out. Like what are you
yeah, you
doing?
can't be doing that as a business. I think that there's definitely levels to it, and I think ultimately the situation was just a lot of people have now lost faith and respect for Ace, and
Yeah.
it's very hard when people have lost respect to gain that back. It was just it
Yeah.
leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. Um,
And, and the thing is, like, I know they saw it and were like, oh, it's only a few people commenting, it's just the odd
yeah,
few that are hating on us. But, like, everyone saw that.
yeah,
And people that still saw it and thought, what the hell? Like,
yeah,
what? This is weird. People who saw that didn't comment. Like,
yeah.
I'd say like 90% of people that like saw it and thought a certain way wouldn't have commented. They would have just
No,
seen it and been like, okay, I've seen that. I acknowledge that. Like, if I had to, like, obviously I'm not the community, right? But I feel like 90% of the community saw that and was like, what the hell's going on
yeah.
here?
Well, anyone that didn't have an affiliate code with Ace Grading, I think,
Yeah, literally was
yeah,
like, what?
was like this is right, and
This
you
is,
got to be careful when you're trying to control the narrative because this bordering on there's things you can and can't do, but deleting comments and hiding comments to control the narrative of what you want to be perceived is very dangerous. And I think when you start doing that, you're going to get a reputation of a company that cannot take constructive criticism, which in itself is a massive problem because
yeah, that's literally
companies
what
like
happened.
that do not last long.
No.
And, I look, the UK community has supported Ace massively. I think there needs to be a conversation about if Ace had released in America to start off with, it wouldn't exist right now, I don't think. But the UK community, rallied behind it. They were, because their slabs, like the design of their slabs is unique. And they weren't trying to compete with PSA. They were offering their own thing. But when you start saying, well, this solved for one, it's like PSA will look, for one, PSA don't even know who the fuck you are. Like, the amount of people I spoke to outside the UK, and they were like, who's Randy? Who's Ace? Like, I've never heard of those things before. And it's like, oh, well, it's a grading company in the UK, and I'll show them the slabs, and they go, oh, they're nice. And I'm like, yeah, they're different. It's like, but it's its own product.
Yeah, no,
But when you're
go on.
when you're trying to when you're and MGC do this as well, and it just seems a bit, I think they do it a bit differently. But you don't see companies that are competing with other companies, the ones that are successful, they're not posting on their socials. We've graded more cards than Beckett, or you shouldn't use Beckett. We're better. Our cards sell more. They don't care.
Yeah.
They'll spend the time making their product better or more consistent, or they don't. They just don't say anything. If you're BGS, where you just don't try to improve. But Ace has its own niche, really, and I mean that niche is still quite big, but it has its own thing. People are grading. If you're in the UK, or you like the labels, the Ace labels that match look really nice. But I think just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it
And
was fine.
yeah,
Like, it was great.
just do what you, because they've been doing well. They're
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
growing as a company. They probably got plans to open up abroad. Like, why spoil that
Yeah,
by a moment of just being a bit arrogant and cocky?
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. I mean, PSA definitely do know who Ace are. If you think back to the graded gems situation, I think
Yeah,
that's why they lost.
because of graded gem.
Yeah,
But a
that's
lot
why
of
they
people
lost
I've spoken
the,
to have said they won't use Ace because of graded gem.
I've
Because
heard
they know
that
that they're a
before.
part of it.
Yeah, I've heard that before. But yeah, they're obviously aware because that's why they lost that contract with PSA to middleman and stuff. Because they knew that a grading company was being started. But yeah, similar to you, like I've spoken to people in the US and it was Weiss actually. I saw some Weiss Schwarz Ace graded stuff, and US people were like, "Oh, what's this grading company?" Because it looks awesome. Because it had the color match label, and they were really impressed by it. They were like, "Ah, oh, that looks well good." Like, never heard of them though. Who is it? And like seeing that's always kind of cool because it's like, oh, it's like a UK company. Like as you said, like everyone. No one was there's obviously going to be the odd few people out there that were against it, but like you know the general community, like everyone was fine and as you said, like rallied behind it. Even if you don't use them, people were still happy to see a UK company still going and going well.
They exist because of the people that submit to them. It's
of course, like yeah. But yeah, it just. For me personally, it was just like the comments. It was the reactive comments where it's like, wow, like I was so surprised the post was even still up like that evening or the next day.
We thought it was going to be taken down. Surely someone, but that to me says that there's nobody in Ace grading that will go, right, come on. That has the authority within the company to go, right, this is a PR disaster.
Yeah, because it was. It really was.
Because it was.
Like,
and that worries me.
Sorry, yeah.
That worries me when you've got a company that there is nobody within that company that's going, right, okay, like the owner of this company can just say and do whatever he wants, and there's no one going, come on, man, like that's, like pack it in. Like this is not a good look.
Yeah.
Because like, now it's happened once. What happens if is it going to happen again? Like, what happens if something big happens, for instance, and something comes up and there's another one? Are we going to see the same issue? Or, I'm not saying, to be honest, I think they probably should have said, look, I'm really sorry for the comments that I made. I obviously, this is my company. I'm very passionate about it. The intent of that post was never to, cause the arguments that it did or whatever. It was just, we were proud of, a product that is come through our company has sold more than one of our competitors.
Yeah,
and then people would have
gone,
and people would have gone, do you know what? Okay, we all have a bad day. But the fact that that didn't happen,
that's the worst part.
Is it's the principle that it means and the sentiment behind it. So I think
Yeah, I think there was just like comments about like enjoy your night shift, and I don't know, like it was just
that Sam
I
made,
work from like enjoy your night shift. I'm running my own busy running my own business or something, and
it's a hard one, isn't it? Because this community is
all just emotional reaction. Like that's all it is. But like honestly, I was just expecting posts to come down. And just someone be like, like, sorry.
Even if they deleted it and just didn't say anything.
Yeah, or just that, or just like deleted it and been like, damn it, like that didn't go well.
Yeah, when you argue, that's the thing. Let's break it down because we've had this conversation a billion times. The amount of comments that me and you have had on YouTube videos, across all our socials. Now, we more than a lot of people, we put ourselves out there. We're in front of the camera. And we know that if you put yourself in front of the camera, you are going to get hate. There's always going to be someone that doesn't agree with your opinion, but there's a difference between being behind the camera and being in front of it. So, as soon as you get in front of the camera, and you start talking about, you know, things that people have different opinions. We've had, you know, I've had people tell me that, oh, if Kickstarter TCGs are going to die, how are you going to pay your rent? You're going to be on the streets, homeless, broke boy, or, you know, this guy looks like Jimmy Neutron, and like, you know, that. I mean, there's been a lot of comments that have told me to go fuck myself and kill myself, but I'm not going to reply back saying, you know, I'm not going to respond to that in an aggressive manner because it's just people projecting. And I know that it's going to be more damaging for me if I respond like that. Like, that's not how you should respond. I just go, you know, I'll respond back saying, oh, no worries, mate. Or, yeah, cool. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Just stuff like that. It's, you know.
Yeah, I think you're going to be more emotional when you feel like your brand's being attacked, which I guess is what he felt and maybe what Sam felt because it was his data.
Because it went through, it was his auction,
his name on it. So like, I can completely get like, feeling that emotionally reactive to that stuff.
Yeah.
It's then going ahead with it. It's then like doubling down and then not, like, you know, realizing that it wasn't the best way to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was not being able to, I don't know. Yeah. Like not being able to see that maybe you're in the wrong or something, but I guess they genuinely just don't think they've done anything wrong, because otherwise that would be the case, right? Like if you genuinely thought like, didn't handle that well, whatever, or like actually maybe everyone's right, you would then, I don't know, personally I would, like if that's how I thought and felt, then I would say, do you know what, I was wrong. I don't know, maybe, you know, everyone's different, so it's different to how people will react, or you know, some people don't like admitting they're wrong because it hurts their ego. I don't know, like everyone's different, but I don't know, it was a bit of a shit show, I can't lie. Like I haven't graded with Ace before personally, because purely out of like a value thing. Like I don't want to grade with Ace and then be like, don't want that card, need the money, need to sell it. And when it's something like Weiss Schwarz, where you sell to people in America, they're going to go, unknown grading company, it's raw price, don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
you know, that's what my reason. But I do love the labels. Yeah. Like, it looks cool.
The labels are nice, but there's a reason why we haven't graded them. And I think fundamentally, a lot of the people that are selling Ace stuff, and I know Randy himself will, you know, still have PSA slabs himself or Beckett slabs. You know, I know he probably grades a lot with Ace now, but he still will have remnants of his collection. And I don't know if he still actively, you know, grades with PSA. I'm not sure. But, you know, the comments that I also saw were like, oh, it's strange people would back, you know, this conglomerate big $1 million company over a local. But, you know, I don't think it's but it does, that suggests that they're in the camp of them feeling like they're an underdog and they're feeling like they're underappreciated, or, you know, they got to fight the big boys and they got to, you know, they got a bit. Yeah, I felt that's just a mindset. And I think
it's like that.
Sold themselves that. And I don't think that's the case. I think, like, as we said, Ace are doing very well for themselves. They've grown. You know, you see Ace slabs all the time at these card shows and events, but now for me, if you could get a PSA slab and an Ace slab at the same price, everything that's happened now, I would still side with the PSA slab, because it's a recognized brand. It's bigger. It's been around for over 20 years now, and Ace might be around in 10 years, 15 years. I mean, you know, I hope they are, because a lot of people like their product. And I'm sure that they'll probably grow and adapt and do more things as time goes on, as they, you know, get the technology and the sort of the capital to do so. But yeah, I think, you know, just do your own thing.
Yeah, it's like that Gary Vee quote. What is it? Like, you're not against everyone. It's like everyone together. Like, I'm absolutely butchering that because I can't remember what it is, but it's we get the gist of it. yeah, it's not like all about competition. One person has to be better. It's not about being better than PSA.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a market for these different things. There's a market for PSA. There's clearly a market for Ace. It's separate.
Yeah.
And I get like that's the thing that I'm like, yeah, I completely get it. I get that why they posted that because that's like trying something new. Like and anyone who does content, whether it's just Instagram or whether you're doing YouTube, like that's what it's about. Like you see things that maybe work for other accounts or other people, and
Yeah.
you kind of you become creative with the idea like how can I use that, even if it's like completely unrelated account. You're like, how could I do something similar with what I'm into? And you know, there are other accounts that do similar things that post about like comps and sales data, and people do enjoy that. So like I completely get why you
Yeah.
would try that out and be like, let's post this. And you know, and as you said, it's also like a thing that they're obviously proud of, right? That you built this company and you're like,
Yeah.
it's like if I was to post on Card Cami, like we hit sale number 1,000 and you know, fantastic. Like I
Yeah.
completely understand that and trying
It's a
something
big moment
different.
for them. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But like, it was just like, that's fine on its own, but it then had all these
Yeah.
other things and then it went down and spiraled down and down. It's just a shame that I guess they can't see the representation that maybe we would have saw. So like being in lots of different communities, chats,
Yeah.
discords, right? We see everyone react to this from like loads of different people within the community.
Yeah.
Whereas they're not seeing that. They're only seeing the people who, you know, didn't like it, but then also didn't like it to an extreme to the point where they
Yeah.
posted something that was maybe a bit shitty, which then
Yeah.
started the arguments and stuff. But, you know, the majority of people out there that saw it and did think it was like a little strange, they're not going to post, right? They're staying neutral. They don't want to get
Yeah.
involved, right? But they see it and they acknowledge it. And it's just
Yeah.
a shame because they obviously think that it's just a couple of people that don't like Ace that are coming in. But
They're just posting
the
it for the sake
reality
of it,
was
yeah.
most of the community was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Not because of just the post, but the
No,
post,
but because
the
of the
data,
reactions.
the reaction, the hiding comments. It just went on and on and on. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're never gonna listen this far into the podcast.
If
But,
they're still
you know.
watching, you know, it's
I mean, I tried
yeah,
to leave
fair
my
enough.
comment level-headed, neutral comment
Yeah.
anyway, but that got hidden, so they obviously don't care.
Wow. Yeah. But well, we will wrap it up now. We've been speaking for over an hour, so you know, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on. It's been a
No, it's
while
fun.
since we've done this.
Yeah.
It feels like Card Crunchers again, but it's,
It
you know,
literally does.
yeah. So, well, as always, hit that subscribe, like, you know, hit the notification stuff. Check out Mike's channel as well. There'll be a link in the description below if you're interested, especially Union Arena stuff, which we didn't talk about today, but maybe that's, you know, maybe that's for a future episode. And as always, have a great day.
See ya.